Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually being swapped back and forth in the Forex market? I mean, we're talking about the biggest financial market on the planet with trillions of dollars flying around every single day. But what are people really buying? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and get right to the heart of it. Let's dive in.
So let's just cut to the chase. What's the one thing, the actual product, that's at the center of every single one of those trades?
Yep, it's that simple. It's money. You're trading the money of one country for the money of another. But, since you're not physically handed a suitcase full of Japanese yen, it could be a little tough to wrap your head around what's actually going on. So let's break that down with a really simple idea.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll hit the big idea behind what you're really buying. Then, you're going to meet the blue chips of the currency world. We'll even crack their secret codes and cool nicknames. And, to wrap it all up, we'll spend some time with the king of all currencies, the US dollar.
Okay, first up, what exactly is on the Forex menu? See, to really get this, we need a simple but honestly a really powerful analogy that's going to make everything click into place. And this is it. This is the whole key. Buying a currency is just like buying a share in a country's economy. The price of that currency, it's basically a live report card on how the world feels about the health of that country's economy, both right now and in the future. So when you buy, you're placing a bet that things are looking up for that country. This quote just nails it, right? If you buy the Japanese yen, you are basically saying, you know what, I think Japan's economy is solid, and it's probably going to get even stronger. If you're right and the economy does well, the value of your share, the yen, goes up. It's a pretty cool way to think about it.
So, if we're all out here buying shares in different countries, which ones are the most popular? Well, just like the stock market has its big name, blue-chip companies, the Forex market has its own heavy hitters.
They're called the major currencies. These are the big players, the ones that are traded the most, day in and day out. And that's because they represent some of the biggest and most stable economies on the entire planet. If you're new to Forex, these are almost certainly the currencies you'd get to know first.
Okay, so here's a funny little debate in the trading world. You've got the, let's say, uptight traders who insist there are only 5 majors. But then you have the rebels who say, no way, you have to include the commodity currencies too. Well, just to keep things interesting, we're going to side with the rebels on this one and look at all 8.
And here they are, the big 8. You've got the US dollar, aka the buck. It's the undisputed king. Then there's the euro, or fiber, representing that whole powerhouse eurozone. The Japanese yen, a huge player in Asia. The British pound, famously known as cable. The Swiss franc, or Swissy, which is like a classic safe spot to park your money. And then we have the commodity crew, the Canadian loonie, the Aussie, and the New Zealand kiwi.
Now, you probably noticed those 3-letter codes. They're not just random letters. Not at all. They're basically the universal ticker symbols for currencies, and they follow a super simple logical pattern. Let's just take the New Zealand dollar, NZD, as a quick example. How do we crack this code? It's so easy. The first 2 letters, NZ, stand for the country, New Zealand, and that third letter, D, stands for the currency itself, the dollar. This formula works for pretty much everything. USD is United States dollar. GBP is Great Britain pound. See? Simple, right?
And talk about perspective. On one hand, you have the British pound, which has been around since the 8th century. Think about that. And on the other hand, the world's newest currency is the Zimbabwe gold, or ZiG, which just became official in April of 2024. That's a pretty incredible timeline. All right, let's bring it back to the king of the majors, the US dollar. We saw its official nickname as the buck, but trust me, that is just scratching the surface.
Get ready for this. Beyond the buck. People call it greenbacks, bones, Benjis, Benjamins, cheddar, paper, loot, Skrilla, cheese, bread. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's a pretty clear sign of just how woven into global culture the dollar really is. And you actually hear this stuff in the real world. Instead of someone saying, well, I must be leaving for my place of employment now, you're way more likely to hear something like, yo, I gotta bounce. Gotta make them Benjis, son.
And for one last awesome piece of trivia, the dollar's influence is everywhere. In Peru, for example, a common nickname for the US dollar is Coco. Why Coco? Well, it's a pet name for Jorge, which is the Spanish version of George, as in George Washington on the $1 bill. How cool is that?
So here's the bottom line. Trading Forex isn't just about charts and numbers. It's about trading your opinion on the economic health of entire nations. It all comes back to that core idea.
If buying a currency is like buying a share in a country's economy, well, looking at the world today, whose shares would you buy?